Welcome, Internet, to the PixelPlay Podcast, your weekly podcast for gamers by gamers. I am one of your co-hosts, Kaylan, aka Catastrophe, joined as always by my co-host, Adam, at CS Radical, and looking a little bit more tan than usual, Chris, at Gin and Chris, who's coming back to us from Florida. Hope you're glad to have you back. We missed you.
I missed you both too. I did.
Yeah.
I watched a bit of the episode from last week, just to not even to see how the episode was, just to hang out with you guys. You know,
Aw,
it was kind of like
cool.
my little way.
We missed you. Did you get a chance to play any games while you were gone?
I did, just on the plane ride there and back. So I purposely just brought my Switch. The Steam Deck is great, but like it is a big honking system to kind of take on a plane when you're just going to be using it for 2.5 hours there and 2.5 hours back. But luckily I had the game Hades, the one that's done by Bastion's developers and stuff.
Supergiant, yeah.
I'd played it a bit. But I mean, I'm not good at those games, like the roguelites or whatever you want to call them. However, I'd found out right before I left, and when I mean right before I left, I had to leave my house at 3 a.m. to get to the airport, and I found this out at like 2:45 a.m. when I was just kind of Googling some info, that it has something called God mode. And normally that means that you're invincible and can just play the game. This one is very interesting. It starts off the game where you have a 20% reduction to damage. So it's not that huge of a help. It's a help, but it's not like it's going to be game breaking. But every time you die, it increases that by 2% up to 80%. So it's kind of like it helps you, but it's not an instant just you're invincible, whatever. It's like, hey, you're struggling. We'll start you at 20%. And if you still suck, we'll keep making it a little bit better and a little bit better. And yes, I'm at like 58% or something like that because I just continuously died. But
I think you're lying.
Yeah.
I think you're doing this on purpose, just because you want it to be easier.
There was about 3 times I walked to the first enemy and stood there until I died because I was like, okay, I just really want to get further in this game and I need more than 2% health right now.
It's like when you're playing the Trails games, the original trilogy, because if you keep dying in boss battles, it will restart the fight with the difficulty lowered a little bit more. And sometimes there's a boss that's just enough of a dickhead that, you know what, screw it. I'll let you kill me 7 times so that I can poke your ass to death.
I like that. I feel like that's something like I wish FromSoft would do with their games or something like that. But
yes, that's what I was thinking. It's like the perfect, like Souls, like, you know, quote unquote easy mode. They're like, oh, there should be no easy mode. It's like an accessibility option or an assistance.
I'm just
but
accepting
it made
the fact
Hades...
they're not for me. It's just at the point, it's like, nope, you know what? They're never going to make it easier, so screw it. I'm not in.
Yeah, no.
they
But I
don't want you there, Adam.
But that's what Armored Core is for, apparently, because that's apparently much more approachable.
Can't wait to
I'd believe that. I'd believe that for sure. But yeah, if anybody's been worried about playing Hades or you tried it and you were like, wow, this is way too hard for me, it's just in the options. It's right there. And you can turn it back off. And as soon as you do, all your bonuses are gone and you're right back to the hard version of the game and you still have all your progress. So you can kind of flip back and forth as needed. It made the game a lot more fun for me. I already found it fun. I'm just not good at those games. So I got about 5 hours of that played, and I was very happy with my progress.
Nice.
I made it to the 3rd boss, where before I'd made it only past the first one 30 times before dying instantly right after. So
yeah, it's kind of the thing with some of these games where it's like, I know a lot of people are very touchy when it comes to easy modes or if games are too easy, but at the same time, it's like, look, if you're time constrained and you don't want to spend like the full amount of time that would be required to learn it, yeah, it kind of helps that you can do something to at least alleviate that. So like I'm playing Sea of Stars right now, and the little relics you can use that can kind of change the difficulties. Like there's some that, shops will sell you, or the prices are discounted by like 10%, or every time you finish a battle, it will auto heal you again. So you don't have to worry about all these things. There are things like that I think is helpful. And also I like the fact that games are starting to realize that it isn't just, hard, medium, beginner. It's now, hey, here's the base. And then if you want to toggle a few things here and there, you can do that. Instead of, it just being a straight up, okay, you pick this mode and everything becomes like baby mode. Whereas now it's like, hey, are you struggling a bit with like, just defensive stuff? Okay, fine, we'll help you. We'll take like 10% off the damage there or something like that. Or, hey, are you just trying to like speed things up a little bit quicker on like, so you don't have to farm too much? You can turn up an XP modifier. Like, I like that these options are starting to exist more often now. So you can kind of customize like what's the right set up for you that fits with how much time you're willing to put into it. Because the same also can be said, I would like to see go the other way, because most of these times these games do just like the easier option. I would like to see also games do like a second option on the other side, which is like, hey, you want this to be even harder? Turn it so that damage is even increased by another 10% or something like that if you really want to challenge yourself. Because I think at this point, I don't even know if I like the idea of a difficulty anymore, because it's so arbitrary and you don't even really know what it actually means until like a month later when somebody's deep dived into it so much that they go, okay, here's what it actually all entails. I think it'd just be cool if we just had like straight up just modifiers from here on out, but that's something that some games will do, and then others are going to be like, no, we're just going to have this button because that's what everybody expects to see.
I don't understand the whole idea of like why it matters to other people whether a game has an easy mode or not. Like, you know, if I buy Tenet, like Nolan North's movie Tenet, it's mine to do with as I please. If I want to watch it on easy mode with subtitles, cool. If I want to put it on Mandarin for hard mode, like either way, like it's my challenge and how I'm going to understand that movie. So, yeah,
I love that you chose Tenet for that example, because it's already a hard enough movie to watch.
How do you want, like,
Not
it's hard enough because
movie,
you can't understand it. It's
confusing.
Yeah, so you can put the subtitles, you know, a little bit more what's going on, or you want hard mode? Cool, throw in a language you don't understand, and you have no idea what's going on. Halfway through it goes backwards. You're like, what? Yeah. I just realized we've been like on this episode now for like 5 minutes. I didn't even tell what this episode's about. This week's episode, we're gonna be talking about upcoming preview for fall games. Yeah, with it being fall this week.
Yeah, I believe it's the 23rd is the first official day of fall, I think.
I'm no geologist, so I wouldn't know. So, yeah, we'll say it's fall this week. So, with it being fall, we're going to go through the fall.
That's all I know.
Okay. I like how no one called the fact of the geologist. We're going to go with the idea. We're going to go with the fall preview and just kind of talk about what's coming on down the pipe, what we're excited for, what we think are going to be hits, what are we misses, just kind of getting you prepared so you know what's going to be keeping you busy from here until the end of the year. We talked really quick with Chris about what he's been playing. Adam, you mentioned real quick you're playing Sea of Stars. How's that going for you?
Yeah, I'm now. I don't know how deep I'm into it, but I finished like a point where the story's actually turned now. But like I've been saying, because me and Chris have been going back and forth on this game because of course we're super into this, because you know it's basically an homage to like every Super Nintendo JRPG around. Like it's parts Chrono Trigger, which obviously Chris is going to be very happy about that. Literally, the world map is Chrono Trigger to a fucking T, almost down to the text even. When you hover over a world, good. I'm like, it's so intentional. It's got bits of like Super Mario RPG with the timed hits that it does. It has a little bit of Secret of Mana with its kind of traversal mixed with a little bit of more like parkour and jumping elements that we normally don't see in those era games because, well, mechanics were difficult back then. And then now they've got their own spin on things where they have, essentially in the battle system, they have what's called the lock system. So above an enemy, if they don't already have just a regular attack in the queue, you'll see these symbols. And that's telling you that, hey, they're about to do a more special attack. And it could be, it could be like 4 locks and say 2 of them are sword, 1 of them is blunt, and 1 of them is sun damage. So you have, it'll say 3. So you have 3 turns to get all of those locks done by doing 2 of those sword attacks, 1 blunt and 1 sun. And if you do that successfully, it completely negates their next turn. So you just completely restart the cycle again. If it's a normal attack, you can't stop it, but that's pretty easy to block and they're not too over the top. But the special attacks, you want to get as many of those locks cleared as possible because they do reduce the damage if you don't manage to successfully get rid of all of it. But if you can, especially in boss fights, you want to clear that lock if you can, because some of those attacks are fucking devastating. Yeah. And you only have room for 10 healing items, so you better make use of what you've got. So you better clear those locks as best as you can, which means you actually have to strategize what moves to use when. You can't just go fight, fight, fight. It's like, okay, shit. You need to attack because you aren't useful at this point. So you need to generate some magic orbs so we can do this type of damage. And then you need to do this because we need 2 of those. And then you need to do this with a combo attack so that I can fit all of these other symbols in. Like there's actually a thought process to using your turns effectively rather than the traditional method of this attack is OP, I'm just going to spam it. It doesn't work that way, because if you just spam something that works, sure, it might clear a lock or 2, but then the boss is going to turn around, smack the bejesus out of you, and you're right back to square one. But otherwise, like, like I've been back and forth with Chris on this. I'm not there yet in the full extent because I like playing the game a lot. The music is great. The pixel art is probably the most beautiful game I've ever seen. The fact that it even uses like lighting and shadows like it's a AAA game is phenomenal to me. And it's doing a fantastic job of that. I'm just not hooked on the story completely. I like the characters, thankfully. It's not like 16 where I literally didn't like anybody. So like I'm already at the point of I'm just waiting for that one last thing to turn this into like a 9 to a 10. Like I'm at the point right now that I'm sitting on a solid 9 because everything else is amazing. It just needs that last thing to push it over the edge. And I assume as you get more and more into the game, when it's actually putting its true colors out there, it's going to be pretty good.
Oh yeah, it definitely will. I feel like the part you're at, without spoiling anything, it's kind of like you finished the introduction, but the introduction happens to be the first third of the game.
Yeah,
And I don't mean that in a bad
sense.
way. I just mean it's just like
Like
all
the
like
third act?
story. Like yeah, like it's just the first introduction of the first act. Yeah.
Now, you obviously played The Messenger as well, Chris. Was there any point in this game already that you were like, oh, I know what that is? Because it is apparently like a sort of prequel to The Messenger.
Yeah, no, there's not a single thing here that I can connect to The Messenger yet. But also, I played The Messenger more as just like this action game where the story was like very secondary. Like you don't play
so you've
Ninja
probably
Gaiden.
forgotten most of the content anyway.
I have forgotten 100% of the content besides the gameplay and some of the bosses. But I don't know. There's probably some connections. I've more noticed like the Chrono Trigger connection stuff. Like, did you notice there was this one enemy that was standing on a mountain, and when you went up and talked to him, his response was "Mountain's nice." Did you see that one? And then you talk again.
I mean, literally,
and then you
the
talk
first
again.
boss in the game is an homage to that RoboCat from the festival. And literally, as soon as like just before I was playing the game again, just to get a little through a little bit more, you learn X attack as a combo attack. That is Chrono Trigger right there. That is like the de facto combo attack from Chrono Trigger.
Yeah, the game is so good, and the story does pick up. But I mean, it won't be the most memorable part of this. It'll be the art style, the music, and the gameplay, which is still phenomenal enough to. I would have bought this day one if it wasn't on Game Pass and PS Plus Extra. I would have bought it hands down.
Yeah,
easily.
like as it stands right now, if I was to put it up against Chained Echoes as like my favorite JRPG from this year, because Reverie, as much as I like Trails into Reverie, is nowhere near on that level because it just didn't hit the same way, but it wasn't supposed to. It was kind of like an end game like homage to things. It wasn't really meant to be like this really heavy story. I'd still put Chained Echoes above Sea of Stars right now, but that's again because I've also finished it and experienced everything, whereas Sea of Stars still has plenty much to do. Whereas on the flip side, I finished Starfield 50 plus hours, and I have now I like eating crow because I fucking love this game, even though there's so much wrong with it.
So a Bethesda game.
Yeah. I mean, Kaylan, how much deeper have you been able to get into it?
Oh my god, I love being a spaceman. I'm living my spaceman fantasy right now. It is the best. I've done none of the main missions. I'm just flying around in my spaceship, shooting pirates. I am currently doing the Space Cowboy faction, which ironically is called the Ranger. They're called the Rangers, and all I can think of is Buzz Lightyear and be like, I'm a space ranger. And I just can't take it seriously, but it is so good. It's so good. I love it.
What level are you at right now?
I am level 14, I think.
Okay.
So I've done like I said, I've done none of the main missions. I'm all just doing side quests, and I keep getting distracted by like shiny things.
Yeah, I think when I finished, I was like mid to high 30s, I believe, when I was done.
Okay. Yeah, it's all I want to do. It's hard.
And granted, I also I know that I skipped a lot of content to get to the end because eventually I need to play Sea of Stars before shit happens in October. We need to start getting on this. So I went, fuck it. I know I'm going to miss some shit. This needs to stop. I need to push my way through the end. And there was still some really good stuff. Like I was saying on the last episode how I need that one thing to really turn me. And again, the ending, I'm not going to spoil anything, but it's not like, again, it's a Bethesda game. Are you really expecting the ending to be like transcendent? No. So that didn't really like end up being that great, but there was a couple of stories before that where I legitimately was like, wow, this is really well put together. You can tell where the writing team definitely focused their attention on. Because there's one route in particular where I had to make a choice between a faction. We talked about this, if that was going to happen. I was eventually made to make a choice, and I was not happy with the outcome, even though I knew I made the right choice, but I was fucking pissed.
Oh, I'm so excited for that.
It's been a while since I felt like that, because when you have to look down the barrel of people that you like and have to fire that and pull that trigger, it's very frustrating, because you're like, no, I like both of these sides. Why do I have to do this? This is bullshit. Why can't I should be able to negotiate my way out of this. Let me persuade something to keep this from nobody going away. I like all of you. Fuck off. Why can't I like stealth and persuade and do all this other bullshit to avoid fights? What kind of Bethesda game is this?
The only gripe I have with the game is, well, there's two gripes I have with it. One is I'm trying to play myself as a snarky kind of rapscallion kind of thing.
And no one likes
every
that.
time I take no, nobody likes it. Everyone thinks I'm being serious. And I'm like, no, I'm just being a smartass in space. And they're like, wow, did you actually mean that? I'm like, no, I didn't mean I'm going to commit.
Yeah, if you want to be Han Solo in this game, you're fucked.
Yeah, you can't be Han Solo in this game.
Well, I mean, you can be, but no one will like you.
To be fair, maybe nobody likes Han Solo. Maybe we as the audience like him, but maybe nobody in the Star Wars universe likes him.
I mean, that'd be a hell of a revelation if Chewbacca doesn't. Oh man, that changes everything.
Well, he's only there because he owes him a life debt. We've never implied that they were friends.
That's true.
The other gripe I have is just a pretty significant bug that I haven't heard anyone talking about. So I'm going to give anyone who's played this a hot tip. Slight minor spoilers. I'm going to try and do it without it. I'll do the first one without the spoiler, and then if you want to skip ahead, it's not huge. But I got a ship, and it came with a nice little armory room where like you can hang up guns on the wall and stuff. I'm like, sweet, this is my home base, and I put all my awesome, legendary, epic gear on the walls. Flew to the next space station, sold a bunch of stuff, and I'm like, oh crap, I sold all my stuff. And I'm like, I'll just go back in my save. And it was quite a ways back, so I'm like, no, I'm still early in this game, I'll just go without. Essentially what happened is I realized that apparently if you load all your weapons onto the ship, and then they disappear by the time you get to the next spaceport. So you can't actually mount weapons onto like your armory sort of weapon wall, or they disappear. Cargo holds are fine, but if you put them on the walls to display, I guess they disappear for whatever reason. So slight spoilers. I found this out because I got a ship called the Mantis, and that's the ship that I was using. And yeah, I put all my guns on the wall, and then poof, they were gone by the time I got to the next one. So, and I've read
I never had to think about that because all I thought was, okay, these guns are one of two things. They're either for shooting or for money. Fuck the rest of it.
I wanted to do like a John Wick style thing where it was like, I'm like, all right, I got a mission. I just open it up and like, I got guns, and just like, I need like going through like a sommelier with like my guns and stuff, and be like, oh, this one has a nice bouquet when it shoots your face off.
I'm still a little frustrated because I didn't find like a copious amount of weapons in the later game that made me suddenly change what I was using. I basically used the same rifle from like 10 hours in for the rest of the game. Like I never found a better rifle. I maybe switched out a shotgun once or twice. And then I eventually found a laser rifle that was useful enough that I could use it when I needed to conserve ammo, which was almost never because I constantly took shit. So I never really ran out. But like pistols, there's never really been anything that good. They even have
I'm loving
grenade launchers that I had no interest in. It's weird. Like maybe it's just because of the weapons that I liked using, but like I never even found a decent sniper rifle that I felt compelled to use.
I've been mostly rolling with pistols, just being like I said, I'm being a space cowboy. Like I'm just going around shooting people with my space pistol.
Well, I mean, look, there's a decent pistol that comes out of the Rangers, but apart from that, like most of the pistols I got were, you're basically the rifle but less damage. Why am I using you?
I like it. Thematic. It's thematic.
Yeah, you're role playing over there. I was just trying to breeze through the fucking game.
Yeah, it's going to be brutal because I am taking my time with this, and this is going to bite me in the ass when it comes to the fall lineup because...
Oh, I know I could have put 80 plus. Like, there's no way... Like, I easily could have thrown minimum 20 more without even thinking about it, but eventually
80 hours
there's no way I have to get through this.
80 hours in a Bethesda RPG is rookie numbers. You got to talk triple digits.
Oh yeah.
Well, I mean, the completionist thing, I think on how long to beat was something around 200, so that checks out.
I was playing Fallout New Vegas once, and I was like a couple hundred hours, maybe 120 hours in or something like that. And my PlayStation broke, and I had to get it in for repairs, and my save got wiped. And I'm like, nope, I've never finished Fallout New Vegas because I was 200 hours into Fallout New Vegas. And I'm like, I'm not getting that back again. I'm done.
No, I wouldn't either. I'd walk away. That you completed it. You finished it. That's how you finished it.
So I checked how long to beat. I definitely fall in with the main plus sides, which is 54 and a half. The completionist is currently averaging 168. I was not going to get that close.
Oh, I'm not going for completionist. I'm going to play it until I'm bored and then move on.
All right, well, we'll see you in 4 months.
Speaking of moving on, Adam, you got a topic this week. You brought us a list of all the upcoming games and thought that maybe we can kind of go through it, talk about some of the big ones coming out, how we think they're going to do, our excitement levels, and just kind of do a fall preview. So with that, I'm going to give the reins off to you.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously with the last 4 weeks alone, the amount of shit that came out is just staggering. So, I mean, we talked about, after the midway point, what we thought the 6 nominees were going to be. And I want to remind people that our nominees for Game of the Year at the end of June, we had Diablo 4, Final Fantasy 16, Hi-Fi Rush, Tears of the Kingdom, Resident Evil 4, and Star Wars Jedi Survivor. I'm pretty sure we can at least take 2 games off of this list now and bump 2 others alone, and that's like without second thoughts, because Baldur's Gate and Starfield probably need to go in now. So those 2 are probably already there. And the fact that, like, you could possibly make a case for more than that because Armored Core 6 is going to have certain people. Sea of Stars could even replace Hi-Fi Rush as the sort of indie game right now because it's getting unbelievable praise too. So, like, it's pretty crazy to think that even with another 3 full months to go, there's still time and still plenty of games that could potentially take it over. I mean, like I said, in the last like 2 months, we've seen, or 2.5, I guess at this point, we've seen Baldur's Gate 3, Armored Core, Sea of Stars, Starfield, and now literally in just a couple of days ago, or even today, I think, Lies of P. I keep saying Lies of Pi because I keep thinking Life of Pi. My God, I don't know why I do this. Lies of P and Mortal Kombat 1 have both come out. So we've had like a pretty significant like stretch in the last really 6 weeks. And when we look forward, it's not getting any lighter. It's not getting lighter at all. So literally, the show is coming out on the 20th. We are recording on the 19th. But literally, when the show comes out tomorrow, Payday 3 will be out and is a Game Pass game. And that is going to be one of the big multiplayer experiences. I know a lot of people are super into that series. I've still got to get a proper run-in with people. I've never actually played that game seriously. I've tried a couple of times, and it just doesn't work because we all just die immediately. So it's a matter of figuring out what to do with that, but obviously people are looking forward to that. I know, Kaylan, your attention is for the 26th of September when Phantom Liberty is going to be coming around, so which is also the point that I'm going to be paying attention to because apparently they just did a really big update even before the DLC that's really done a lot to mess with the game. And now with the new DLC coming in, like, I'm definitely curious on, whenever I do finally get around to Cyberpunk, which will probably be towards the end of the year, if not like in January when it's really dead, hopefully. I'm curious to finally get around to that and actually give it a proper playthrough because I only did like the first 2 hours before I gave up on PS5.
You haven't even touched it yet. The thing with me, like, the thing with CD Projekt Red, like, yes, Phantom Liberty is a DLC, but like, you have to remember that this is, CD Projekt Red, like, their DLCs are pretty much
Blood and Wine from Witcher 3 come to mind.
Right?
Oh yeah.
So like, and I think that like a lot of the, like, nobody had a problem with Cyberpunk in the sense of like its atmosphere, its environment, or anything like that. It was really a performance issue for the most part. I think it was a victim of its own hype, but like that game was really good. And if the update kind of fixes a lot of the gripes and the performance that people had, and it sounds like it does, I think there's gonna be potential. There's gonna be like a huge turnaround for the brand, and I think like it'll be a game that the franchise or the series will not the series, the game will be remembered fondly in its in what it became as opposed to what it was. Very similar to like a No Man's Sky situation.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely comes in the case of like, it's another story of if they had just let it breathe a little bit more and taken the time to just finish things up, it could have looked so much better. But
I'm gonna put a pin in that one because it's been 3 years since Cyberpunk came out. Like,
yeah,
I don't think it was like
you
hey,
have
they
to
just
you have
rushed
to
this
wonder
out.
at least
like,
if they had just let it go one more year and just really make sure that it didn't come out looking the absolute dumpster fire it did at launch.
I've always wondered.
I don't think PlayStation would have taken it off the shelves and they would have had to issue a ton of refunds to people had it come out another 12 months later when they could have, I don't know, maybe not crunched their employees so bad that they basically couldn't get anything done anymore and they just had to push it out and just hope for the best.
Yeah. I think it was a gripe of a situation of being hampered by last gen systems and like Series X.
Yes. Oh yeah. Easily, that's what it is.
Anyways, yeah, Cyberpunk Phantom Liberty, can't wait for that. Another long JRPG to sink oh my god, yeah. Another RPG to sink my teeth into after I finish Starfield.
The king refuses to let go of his crown.
And then we get into October and we basically come to the point of, let's see if October and November end up being the worst ones. And by worst, I mean, what am I going to do with all this time I don't have? October 5th, obviously, you two are looking forward to this a lot more than I am, but Assassin's Creed Mirage.
Stabby stab stab.
Stabby stab.
I mean, look, like, I want to eat crow. I keep saying this on the show. I don't want games to fail, or I don't want games to just not be as impressive, but I don't care anymore, and I don't know what that game does to make me suddenly care again. But look, if I get to eat crow again, woe is me, I get to enjoy Assassin's Creed again, which is a series that I used to fucking adore, so...
I think the make or break, because I've been thinking about Assassin's Creed, and I think it's going to, unfortunately, I think it's going to flop. I think, like, I'm excited for the game. I think it's going to be a fantastic game, but I think the problem is that we are getting a smaller, truncated Assassin's Creed, which is what I want. But it is coming on the tail end of Starfield, is coming like after Phantom Liberty, is coming after Baldur's Gate, and it is coming before Spider-Man, that I think it's going to get lost. I think this would have done well any other time. Like, this game probably should have been released in July and it would have done awesome. I think it's...
I mean, honestly, where it's sitting, it's in actually a decent spot where it's got a couple of weeks removed from Starfield, and it's got a couple of weeks beforehand, so it's got a little bit of time to itself. I think this is probably, if you're going to release a game in the fall, this is the best case scenario for it, because there's not really anything around it to take away attention for the next 2 weeks, because the next real big thing isn't until the 17th, and I'll get into that in a moment, but like, they've got enough time to get the attention that it needs to get those early full price buys, and then after that, they're going to get lost like anything else does, you know, especially when it's been such a busy year. But I think, like, if you were planning on releasing it no matter what in this quarter, this is probably as good as you're going to get, because anywhere else on the schedule, you don't have enough time to get any sort of attention. So I think this was their best scenario that wasn't just pushing it into December, which is generally a death sentence, or into the next year.
I think one of the pitfalls that, for me, like the biggest concern, the biggest hurdle that Assassin's Creed Mirage has to get over is the story. I think this is a good opportunity for them to kind of, for a lack of a better way, hit the reset button without doing like a full out reset. I hope they drop a lot of that precursor, whatever BS that they have. I hope it's just a straight like, hey, it's an Assassin's game, you're an assassin, you go stab these people. There's a general larger story of like an artifact and these two warring factions. But if they have this whole future past BS crap, that is a huge problem for me.
Oh, you know what's going to happen. The entire game is going to be just that, exactly what you want. And then the last 10 minutes of the game is just a full-on cutscene of all the things you don't like, because the game was a mirage the whole time.
Oh, God.
I hate you, Adam.
Oh, I hated and loved that at the same time. Is anybody else actually... Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, you're excited for, like, how are you feeling about Assassin's Creed?
Oh, I think it's gonna be great. But I think it's exactly what you're saying. Like, it's it's like a toned down, less like big blockbuster Assassin's Creed, and therefore it's going to get lost in the other like blockbuster names that are kind of around it. Like I think, and I don't think there was a way around it. Like, yeah, maybe releasing in July, maybe into November, but even then, I think there's also a bunch of games coming out then. Like, I don't know. I think it's going to do well enough, and I think it's going to score really well. But I think its sales will be lesser than what Ubisoft would have preferred compared to especially like Valhalla and Odyssey and Origins and all that, which were selling. Well, I don't know about Valhalla, but I know the other two were selling pretty well when they were coming out. So
I think Valhalla I think sold well, but I think it kind of fell off a cliff because it didn't have the staying power that Odyssey did, and it's not as good of a game.
No,
well,
it's definitely
you
not.
Couldn't hang off of a statue's balls in the beginning of the game. Like, what else are you gonna do in Valhalla? There's no fun in it. Also, there was a better game related to Valhalla that was just God of War Ragnarok. So.
That is true. Yeah. Is anybody else feeling just how much dread they now have over the fact that they haven't played all their games yet and they're behind? And
Chris, that's because your backlog is 2,000 games. That's your own problem.
It's not even my backlog. Can you hear that right now? That's the sound of my backlog being dead. It is dead because I have to ignore it for the rest of the year. Does not exist. But I have Starfield I haven't touched yet. I'm trying to get through Sea of Stars, and Phantom Liberty's coming out. And then October's just like, oh, hey, sorry, did you want to get pounded down more with games? Here's the games you wanted. So,
shouldn't have gotten to Florida, bitch.
Chris,
I think it's my fault.
You're like an adult with no responsibilities. Like, you can get this cleared up in a weekend if dedicated. Like,
I have a lot more responsibilities than being able to play
so
Starfield
a weekend and then
weekend.
another day after that.
Oh, okay. No,
you don't know what a real struggle is. What it is to not have time, sir.
Yeah, well, Chris went to Florida for 2 weeks, and Kaylan decided to have a child for the rest of his life. So, same thing.
Yeah, it's very similar. When you put the two of them side by side, it's very similar situations.
Once again, like 10 years from now, he's gonna listen to this podcast. He's gonna get some trauma just being like, Dad, was I really that much like do you regret? And I'm like, no.
You're like, yes, I had to give up so much.
I love you, but I also love Starfield, so it was kind of a toss-up for a while.
Yeah, now Dad's just getting a Mirage now, so go.
Your kid's definitely getting kicked out of the house at 18. It's been like, I've been waiting so long for Elder Scrolls 6. That's how long Elder Scrolls 6 is going to take to get out, by the way. I don't care what the leaks say.
No, there's a sweet spot where he's going to start playing with me, and it'll be great.
Yeah,
that is coming.
But yeah, so moving on. So the Nintendo folk have to get something in there. October 6th, Detective Pikachu returns. I have never actually even played the original, so I don't know how much it is, but I know for Pokemon fans, that'll be their solace until the next big one comes out. And then on the 10th, Chris's favorite game. Oh, sorry, Kaylan, go ahead.
Just I have no interest in being either a detective or a Pikachu, so.
I mean, I have interest in being Ryan Reynolds, so technically that's sort of like being Detective Pikachu.
Yes, now I'm second guessing this too.
But you know it's Pokemon, so you're gonna be like a 12-year-old boy solving like a double homicide.
I mean,
a double Pokecide.
Like perfect life. You get to go back in time for your youth, but also deal with real-world problems. That's all I've ever wanted.
I'm assuming you're working the Detective Pikachu Homicide Edition.
Oh my god, can you imagine
Pikachu just shows up just like a
Law
cigarette
and Order or CSI game, but it's Pokemon.
What do we got here, Benny?
Looks I'm picturing it like Wolf Among Us, but like Pikachu's there. I don't know.
I'm now genuinely surprised in retrospect that Detective Pikachu in the movie that Ryan Reynolds at no point like had shades on and did like Horatio like one-liner while taking his sunglasses off. What a moment that would have been. But anyways, I digress. Like I said, Chris's next big favorite thing, speaking of things he's going to be adding to his log that I don't know how he's going to find time for, but Forza Motorsport.
Yeah, that one I really, really want to play, and I feel like that one's going to sadly be pushed back. That might be like my Christmas game.
That's
like,
the one you're looking at. Be like, I'll see you in May, maybe.
Yeah, like the cars will still be there, and I won't miss out on any story spoilers or anything like that. Yeah, you know it's
never going to go away. That's going to be eternal Game Pass, so you're fine.
Yeah, and it's always in Game Pass. I don't have to worry about it disappearing.
Spoiler, the cars race.
Imagine there actually is a huge spoiler in that game, and it
Yeah,
gets
there is
leaked
a
on the
huge spoiler. It's the rear spoiler on a car. Duh.
Get
As soon as I said it, I knew that was coming.
get out.
Also, spoiler.
Turns out it's like a Transformers game.
Next up, another. Speaking of things Chris wants to play, October
Throw it on the pile.
17th, Sonic Superstars.
Yeah, I can't wait to not also be able to play that one. I'm so screwed. I don't know what I'm gonna do.
I like how he's also like, oh man, I'll just play it around like December. Aren't you like busy in December? Don't you have something coming up that's also gonna take up some time?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to just bring my PS5 and Xbox to my wedding, so I hope that's okay.
Chris
Alex,
is
if
gonna
you're
be like
listening to
half
this.
like on his Switch and then go, oh yeah, I do, and go right back.
Yeah. Yeah, sure, whatever. Yeah.
That's okay.
Laundry,
3
got
other
it.
people in the audience will be playing because it'll be Sonic Superstars, and we're doing multiplayer
Yeah,
with
exactly.
our Switches.
I'll be playing remotely way out here in Canada because I ain't going to that destination wedding because I'm poor. So
Oh, then we can't play Sonic Superstars. I don't think that has online play.
We weren't
Boo.
playing online. We weren't playing together anyways.
And like I said, it doesn't get better, Chris, because the 20th
No.
is the ultimate day because Microsoft fans are going to be mad because there's nothing for them because the 20th is Marvel Spider-Man 2 for PlayStation fans and Super Mario Brothers Wonder for Nintendo. So if you're an Xbox fan, you get a chance to catch up on some stuff because there's not much for you
Starfield.
going on that day. But
Yeah,
everyone
still
else
playing
is going to be
Starfield.
completely doing whatever, like nothing but these two games.
Yeah. No, they're going to be playing Forza Motorsport. That's what they'll be doing, I think.
You
Probably
won't.
Except Chris.
not.
Except
I
Chris.
won't.
You'll be agonizing over which game you start.
I'll just be installing games. That'll
We're gonna
be
call
my
this-
game.
We're gonna call this episode Chris's Backlog Volume 2.
2?
It's like
You
a
think
whole-
it's only 2?
No. Like we put a bookend on like the last backlog. That's now filed away under Volume 1. We are now building
Yeah.
Volume 2.
Volume
Oh,
1 is
God.
so big. It's like the Jedi archives. Oh my god.
We just put it in a crate and lock it up in a warehouse like Indiana Jones.
But like,
You
which
know,
of these
so-
two are you
Where
guys
the
looking
hell-
forward to the most? Because like, I mean, I personally am Spider-Man 2, but that's also because I don't intend to buy a Switch game anytime soon. So Mario is not on my radar right now. But like, how do you guys feeling? Like, which of the two are you most stoked for at this point?
Mine is Spider-Man 2. I'm very excited for Mario, but I'm willing to wait on that one where if I don't play Spider-Man like within the first week, like day one kind of thing, then I feel like I'm missing out.
I think it probably makes sense
Yeah.
too because Wonder isn't like an Odyssey level Super Mario. It's still more of like a side. Like it seems like a more of a sort of retro game. So it's the kind of thing you're like, this is familiar. I can wait on this.
I think for me, like I'm leaning more towards Spider-Man, and it's only because I don't want that game spoiled for me. I mean, it's a Mario game. I'm assuming you're fighting Bowser. Bowser's up to some shenanigans, and you jump on his head to beat him. It's Mario. Like it's not a complicated, riveting story that's going to be edge of my seat.
I mean, says you. You don't know.
Yeah, that being said, am I the only one who's kind of not? I'm not apathetic, but I'm not excited about Spider-Man 2. My concern is that like I look at the game and it looks like more Spider-Man. And I say that as a good thing and as a bad thing. Like it looks like it's the same combat, the same traversal for the most part. Okay, there's a gliding wingsuit now, cool. But like it just seems like more of the same. And like I don't know, it doesn't have the same excitement for me as the first one did. Like am I the only one that's kind of feeling like it's just I there's nothing there that excites me about it. Like cool, Venom's there. I don't really care about. I have a bad taste in my mouth because the last time I saw the symbiotic suit, it did not go well. Like I'm not super jazzed for this. Like I'm excited, but like it's not like a clear my calendar. Spider-Man 2's here yet. Like give it time, but so far nothing has excited me so much.
I'm not 100% the same, but I think I'm just overwhelmed with all the games that are currently out and coming out before it, like literally even up to the days before it, that I think it's going to come out. I'm going to get super excited that day and it's just going to click. And then I'm going to love playing it because it's going to be more of what I'm used to. But it is going to be very much like a comfort food gaming experience where I'm not expecting anything else. It's more like I just ordered my favorite pizza that I've already had a million times, and I'm gonna have a great weekend with it, and I'm gonna love that pizza. And then when it's over, I'm probably then going to move on to the next thing. And I'm gonna love it, but it's not gonna last with me like some of the other games would have this year.
Yeah,
That's
like
that's what I think.
I look at Spider-Man 2 and I'm like, granted, going back to what Adam said, I'd love to be wrong, but I don't see that game and look at it and say, oh, that looks like game of the year potential so far. Like, how much can you iterate on web slinging and fighting and traversal? Like, it was refreshing for us because we had not had a good Spider-Man game when Marvel Spider-Man 1 came out. We have it now, and it's only been what, like 4 years?
3 years since Miles Morales came out.
Yeah, so like I'm not like craving anything about it, right? So I don't know. I'm excited for it. I hope it comes out, but I'm not like, I was more excited for Starfield. I was more excited for Jedi Survivor than I am feeling right now as of, September 19th for Spider-Man 2.
Well, keep in mind too that again we're talking about comparing games that weren't really like Jedi Survivor was a second and Starfield was a one. So we're talking about now a third edition of something we've played before. The formula isn't really going to change at this point. I mean, from my perspective, I fucking love JRPGs. I'm used to endless sequels and the same thing being copy and pasted over and over again. One of my favorite series ongoing right now is Yakuza, and they literally just finally did something different with Like a Dragon, turning it into a JRPG, whereas they had 7 straight games that operated the exact same way, plus 2 spin-offs that basically operated the exact same way in the exact same place. To me, in the case of Spider-Man, I could care less if it changes anything at all in terms of its gameplay. I'm there because the story is what keeps me busy. If the combat, if the traversal, if all of that stuff is already perfect in my eyes, which it is, then don't touch it. Like, if you want to add something just to slightly enhance it, you want to add like a couple of cool powers or something like that, sure, fine, no problem. But don't change the traversal, don't change the combat, keep that all the same, and just tell me a goddamn good story. And that's what they've done in the 2 games so far. So to me, when I inevitably play this game and review it, I'm not necessarily going to be really reviewing it based on the stuff that we've already done twice. I'm reviewing it based on the story it tells, especially because, in my opinion, I've never seen a good story told outside of like the cartoon that we grew up with, and in comic books, an actual legitimately good symbiote story. Because we've never had that, and as far as I'm concerned, 'cause I don't care much. Yeah, I don't care much for those movies either.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, like we've had Spider-Man 3, which didn't do it very well, and we've had the Venom movies, which I still am very mad at because they fucked up Carnage for me, which is literally my favorite villain of all time.
Carnage is very cool. You're both going to be very disappointed when, you know how they haven't revealed who Venom is? You're going to both be very disappointed when it's Peter Parker's friend, the actor Topher Grace, played by Topher Grace as Venom.
I mean, he's like, I have respect for him right now, so you know what? I wouldn't be that upset at this point, because I'm like, you know what, Topher, you deserve it. You've actually been like the one good one in that cast for the last little bit.
How dare you? How dare you?
Nah,
Andrew Garfield's my Spider-Man.
Mine's still Tobey Maguire, I think.
I honestly don't even know who I'd pick.
I for a second was thinking of Tobey Maguire. We said Topher Grayson.
I mean, I could cheat and say the Spider-Verse Peter Parker is my favorite one, but then again, you don't really know which one I'm talking about. So.
Well, to be honest, the best Peter Parker is Peter B. Parker from
Miles
Morales one. That's the best one.
Yeah, he really is. He's so relatable now.
Yeah. I was gonna say, what do you think the chances are that we see Green Goblin in this game? Because I know they've talked about Kraven. I know they talked about Venom. What do you think the chances are we get Green Goblin? Because spoilers for Spider-Man 1, it's a forever game. Deal with it. But because it's is it Harry Osborn?
Well, Harry's
his friend.
Yeah, he's the kid. He's hinted at being Venom because his dad is working with the symbiote to help cure his son from something, cancer or whatever.
Yeah.
So he's obviously going to be Venom or the
temporarily maybe.
Venom. Yeah, or the cause of Venom getting out or something. Yeah, but he's definitely connected to it.
I mean, I think at this point everything's on the table because we don't really know what's next. Because every time we think, because we initially talked about it way back when about how like, is it weird that the Sinister Six was like already brought in at the beginning, and
They
it seems
wasted
like
that.
they find ways to make it work. Well, at the same time, like they might have wasted, but also they needed something to get this going right off the bat. Because let's be honest, if they just started with the origin story again, we would all roll our eyes. So I don't know what the right answer would have been in that instance. But like,
Well, I thought-
there's still plenty of people that they can pull from, and then eventually, because obviously they're also working on a Wolverine game, I think there is now the potential that if you do feel like you're running low, then you can put him on the shelf for a little bit, do something else, and then get ready to start bringing more of them in and have, you know, a sort of pseudo Avengers level kind of crossover where it doesn't suck like the game that you literally can only buy for a couple more days for $3 before it goes away.
I don't know. I think like because I'm thinking like the big villains that they have left, and it's like I feel like they kind of used too many of them with the Sinister Six. Like that could have been its own game. But I thought it was really neat that they had like those guys, and then they had is it Mr. Negative? Was
Mr. Negative, yeah.
Yeah, and then at the end, like you're fighting like Doc Ock, which is super cool. That like I wonder.
Well,
if
yeah,
they
I mean,
do
to
that
be
with the
fair,
Green
also
Goblin.
most of the villains in the Sinister Six they bring out aren't exactly like the biggest of big ones. They had like Electro and Rhino and Scorpion. Like they were more the lackey level villains. So it's not like they blew their load and had everybody out at the same time.
Yeah.
I think there's still plenty of
think-
room. Like you said, Goblins still exist. You still have Carnage in your back pocket. I mean, we're just getting Venom in technically the third game, even though it's more like
Oh yeah, we still
two.
got Mysterio too. Mysterio would be a fun one.
yeah, you've still got plenty to work with.
I'm thinking that there'll be a hint for Green Goblin,
Mhm.
but you're both going to be disappointed because again, Green Goblin's going to be played by Peter Parker's friend Topher Grace, as played by the actor Topher Grace. So,
You son
Oh
of
my
a
gonna
god,
bitch.
is that Topher Grace? Hey guys, it's me.
hey, my friend Topher Grace, what are you doing in New York?
I
Green Goblin.
need the ultimate.
Man, am I thankful I didn't write a note for Jamie Matheson.
I need the ultimate callback where it's now Topher Grace, and I forget Red Foreman's actor name. I need Red Foreman as Norman and Topher Grace as Harry. Actually, who am I kidding? Red Foreman would be just J. Jonah Jameson. Who am I kidding? Like, if he was ever going to be
Yeah.
suited for something, even though you can't kick J.K. Simmons out of the role, but if Red Foreman was going to be anybody, it was going to be Jonah Jameson just calling Spider-Man a dumbass left and right.
I like it just be like they're just friends and Red Foreman just calls me every once in a while. Hey dumbass. You left some webs in my driveway, you dumbass.
I mean, it's in retrospect, how was Topher Grace not Spider-Man? Because they could have just cast Donna as Mary Jane. It would have been pretty much right on the money anyway.
That is true.
But anyways, we spent way too long on one game, so we'll keep going here because we're not even out of October yet. So the last two notes that I had here for retro fans, the Metal Gear Solid Master Collection is on the 24th. So for all you that are wanting to go back and play the first three, like me, who actually want to give it another fair shake at some point,
To try it because I've never played a Metal Gear game.
I
And-
I
Oh,
you need
tried.
to.
I don't even know if I might still own Metal Gear Solid 2, but I can't bring myself to play it because it's a PS2 game, so it's not exactly controlling as good anymore. But like, I remember playing it and not liking it because I didn't like waiting for enemies to give me a chance to move. Now I'm older and can handle stealth games, so I probably have a better chance of doing that. Also, I really like Metal Gear Solid 5, so I owe it to give it a fair shake as well.
See, my
Yeah.
concern is I've never played it, but I feel like I got into the wrong time because I started with Metal Gear Solid 4. And like
Yeah, that's
basically
not-
I'm walking into the last half
There is
of a
never a
massive-
bad time to go break out Metal Gear Solid 1 and just deal with
I-
all the memes.
I am coming up to Return of the King and being like, what's going on?
What are these hobbits? That's weird.
How can you not want to go
Why are
back
the
and
trees
literally have to remember what Meryl's ass looks like and then fight Psycho Mantis by removing your controller from the controller port?
I
Come
wonder how
on.
they're gonna do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, they're gonna do something. They're
Mhm.
gonna do something, and I don't know what it's gonna be, but I hope it's something fun.
Yeah.
It better not just like skip over that, or I'd be very disappointed.
Just completely turns on a different game.
And I think
Yeah.
there's a game that's coming out in October that I'm going to be playing that you missed. I don't know if is City Skylines 2.
It
Cities,
might have been,
Skylines?
but I tried to put things that were like more
Yeah, no,
like
it's
things
just
that were
something that's
endemic to
gonna
all of us.
Going to be a pain for me because
Just
I'm going to
play
have to play.
SimCity
that.
like a normal person.
Yeah, but SimCity's not good now. Do they even
Yeah,
have one
SimCity hasn't
now?
been good for a long time, Kaylan. So
Whatever.
so unless you're booting up an emulator and playing the old SNES version,
I have that on my Steam Deck. That's like the best.
I know
that's still
you
my
do.
favorite SimCity. I love that one.
Hey, do you feel like playing bureaucracy and just going to City Hall and just working at City Hall? No. Great. Here's a game for you. City Skylines.
Yeah, I can't wait to play that day one too. And it's coming to Game Pass, so I'm screwed because I'm gonna have to play it right away.
Attend the zoning meeting to figure out what the land use is going to be.
You make it like it's not fun, but I actually really enjoy it. I don't know why.
Don't forget the environmental assessment.
Look, it's for the same thing that people that were really into like Euro Truck Simulator and games like that, where it's like, I don't understand why people are super into it, but hey, if it's your thing, have fun with that.
Yeah.
And then last but not least, on the 26th, Alan Wake 2, which I still don't know who asked for it, but at the same time, I'm like, look, they make good games, so I'll let them do whatever they want to do, because why am I blanking on the name of the company? It's the same people that make Control.
Remedy?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Remedy makes good shit, so I trust that they'll make at least a pretty decent product. It just might not. Well, I already know it's not for me because it's pseudo horror. So
Yeah,
you
that's the
still have
reason
to-
I'm out.
You guys still have to play Dead Space.
I mean, I technically already did. I played the original. I don't have to play it again.
I noped out of the original like an hour in, and I got it in a humble bundle.
Yeah, I want to say
So it's on my
I
Steam
probably
already.
got about halfway, and then eventually it was too hard, and I gave up. Probably because some flashy JRPG with a ton of really hot girls were in there, and I went, okay, I'm gonna move on to this. You know what? Speaking of JRPGs, Star Ocean: The Second Story Remaster is on November 2nd as we move into there, so the JRPG fans will be happy to see more Star Ocean. Nintendo fans will be happy on the 3rd because they get WarioWare, which honestly I wish I'd play more of because I actually do like the WarioWare games a lot. They're like nice little fun asides.
I never got the appeal of WarioWare. Like, it is such a weird thing. Like, my sister bought it when she had a Wii, and it was just like no skill involved games. Like, it was like drop the controller, and I'm like,
it's more just
okay.
how quickly you can adapt to things, which is clearly up my alley. I like having to think really quick or being able to have like really quick reflexes to figure out what's going on. That's always been my jam.
It doesn't appeal to me. I don't see the appeal of it, but whatever.
Well, what also appeals to me is on the 9th, the next Yakuza game comes out because Like a Dragon Gaiden, The Man Who Erased His Name is coming out. So there'll be my thing in early November that I'll be like, all right, yeah, that's where our time's gonna go.
Is that the naked one on the beach?
No, that's actually, I'm sure that's probably next year, but no, that one has not been announced yet in terms of a release date. For all the bros out there, on the 10th, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3, which is still weird to me because it's a reboot of the original trilogy, and now they're on the 3rd one. So it's almost like it's 6, but it's not. It's 3, but it's not. So, okay.
I have no idea
Oh
what's
yeah,
going
I'm
on in that
so
series.
confused by it. Yeah, I've got no idea. You could have
That's
told
what
me
we
it was a
should-
remake
I'm
of
still
the
waiting
third.
for them
I
to
don't
put
know.
them all on Game Pass so I can finally play through their campaigns, because I sure as shit ain't paying $50 for a less than 10-hour campaign.
That's the one where you shoot the new guns, right? Not the old guns.
I mean, present
Modern
day
Warfare,
guns,
yes.
really.
Well,
new
modern,
guns.
yes. Yeah, new guns.
new
They're
guns.
modern.
New
Yeah.
guns.
And then
That's the
Chris's other dilemma is going to be on the 17th because he's going to have to pick between... Oh, never mind. That's a lie. Never mind. I keep forgetting he hasn't played Persona yet. 17th is Persona 5 Tactica and Super Mario RPG.
And Mario RPG is already purchased because I had one of those vouchers on the Switch, and I was like, I'm redeeming it now because I don't want to get like Super Mario Wonder when I could have got Super Mario RPG. I win.
It's weird because, like, I'm obviously a big Persona fan. I'm not even sure if I'm that interested in the tactics game, but it's not because I'm not into tactics games. It's just I don't want to play a Persona game that's not a Persona game. Just let me play more Persona. Where's Persona 6? Gimme. Or even the 3 remake. Where's that? But yeah, RPG, I'm legitimately considering that's going to be like, I'm either going to purchase that or I'm just going to wait till you're done and just drive to your house and be like, give it to me. Give it to me.
It's just... I'm gonna have the digital version, so you're gonna have to just take my Switch.
I'll give you my Switch and be like, I'll bring it back in a month.
That's like, I'm gonna borrow your $50. Here is my $30, and
And then honestly, at that point forward, there's not that's the point where I think it's finally calming down, because the only notable thing that I saw, assuming the date sticks, is December 7th, which is Avatar Frontiers of Pandora, which I don't think any of the three of us are really that interested in because I don't think we need to play another Far Cry game.
This
you guys
time
didn't
on
buy
Pandora.
the gold deluxe ultimate edition by Ubisoft for Pandora? No,
No,
for Avatar.
nope.
But I mean, I
I
think we
didn't
can
either.
safely say that, like, especially from really now to the end of October is a nightmare.
Yes.
And
Yep.
that's not even counting games that haven't been announced yet, potentially going on Game Pass, potentially going for cheap on PlayStation Plus Extra, even the free games that might come out on there. Oh boy.
You're
Yeah.
missing the one game. There's one game that doesn't have a date other than winter 2023, and I'm so excited for it. And it's so stupid, but I'm so excited. Space Marine 2. Or I'm so excited. Yeah, Space Marine 2.
Oh
Yeah, because
yeah.
I know Dark Tide I think is coming out as well this year, so like Warhammer is getting a couple in there as well. But like I'm trying to think, like I was going through the list. There were a couple I think Chris, because you played Wargroove, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Wargroove
because
2 is coming
Wargroove
out
2 is
sometime.
coming out this year as well. Like there's a
Was
lot
that
of
the
indie games
free-to-play
too that
game?
are gonna be really nice. Sorry, what was that, Kaylan?
What that was free to play game when like the PS4 first came out?
I think that
No.
was. I don't. Well, I know it was put. I'm pretty sure it was put on for free at one point. No, maybe it was Game Pass. Yeah, I think it was Game Pass.
Oh, I'm thinking
Wargroove,
Warframe.
Oh yeah, Warframe is the free to play one. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Warframe.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, Wargroove is kind of like Advanced Wars. You actually, if you enjoyed the
Oh.
Advanced Wars 1 and 2, Wargroove on Steam might be something up your alley to check out.
It is.
I keep
it
forgetting
is-
that Advanced Wars came out this year.
Put it on Game of the Year. Put it in there.
It actually was really good.
But yeah, like
that's on my list.
you look at that. So like again, if we're even just like assuming that we know roughly like I said, our Game of the Year list after 6 months was Diablo, Final Fantasy, Hi-Fi Rush, Tears of the Kingdom, Resident Evil 4, and Jedi Survivor. We know Baldur's Gate 3 is going to be in there now. That's just not even a question.
We don't know.
There's
None
a
of us have
pretty good
played it.
chance that Starfield's going in. And then when you look at what's left, like I don't know if there's a lot of potential for like a lot of other jostling around. I think Spider-Man 2 has a chance if the story ends up being solid, but I think it has a lesser chance now because it's been done a couple of times. Mario Wonder, normally you think would, but Tears of the Kingdom is already there, so
Yeah.
there's I would be pretty surprised if 2 Switch games get nominated, but also Nintendo does have a lot of swing with people that like to vote on things, so I wouldn't be shocked either if it does get very favorable reviews that it also ends up on there. I don't know about anything beyond that though. I mean, I look at the list. I mean, sure, like maybe Assassin's Creed Mirage really pulls a fast one and like shocks everybody and ends up being like going completely back to form and even improving upon it and ends up being like a solid game. Sonic Superstars I don't think would. Alan Wake 2 I don't think would, even if it was a 10 out of 10 game to the people who review it. I think not enough people care. And then apart from that, like maybe Super RPG, but at that point again it's a remake of an old game, like in Resident Evil 4 already exists. So I don't know if there's outside of Spider-Man and Mario that there's going to be much else to take the places. But like when we go to do the end of the year show, we're going to be looking at the list and being like, good God, there was a lot this year. Now, granted, this was, I guess, the first real year that we saw outside of COVID now where a bunch of stuff finally wasn't being delayed constantly. So I don't know if this is going to be repeatable. This might honestly be looked at as one of the best years in gaming history in terms of overall releases because there's just been so much, and we're not even
I think it
counting
will.
indie games yet. If we really sunk deep into everything that was released, good Lord, there was so much this year already, and we still have 3 more months.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a year. I've gone from just having a backlog. I now have like a front log, and it's just like all this stuff that I have to play that's not out yet, and it's overwhelming.
And multiple
it's
side
like-
logs.
And so many side logs.
And
It's-
underlogs. And above logs. Everywhere a
Surrounded-
log.
Call logs.
What's happening? Yeah, I honestly would say this is probably one of my favorite years in gaming in the last probably in the last 10 years. I think the last time I've had like this kind of a good year, like a really good year, last time would have been like 2013, 2014. I don't know if that's the exact year, but I do remember that it
Yeah,
was
definitely
around
early
there.
2010s would be the last time, but I think I was truly
Yeah.
like at my best in terms of everything that was coming out. And again, like the conversation has been happening, so so many of my friends have talked about, oh, it's not the same anymore. Granted, when you get older, you become more and more used to what's already out there, so it's hard to find new experiences now. I think this year has basically proved, and we're not even done yet, that the last few years was just an anomaly because of a international event. And I think we all kind of got into our own heads and got really, really depressed about it because it was really boring and it was really quiet and it was really depressing. And we also got older and we started having our midlife crises. And we all started freaking out about it.
Who's having a midlife crisis in this economy?
I didn't say okay, not us, but like
a midlife crisis in this economy? I don't think so.
No, you already have your crisis of not having time anymore to play.
Yeah, it really solves that problem.
But like a lot of people that I know really did talk about how it's been like they don't feel like they're much of a gamer as they used to be, and then this year has happened, and a lot of people I don't hear that anymore. It's just you don't have time to suddenly not think that gaming is bad anymore. It doesn't exist. You're too busy trying to figure out how the hell you're going to fit another game in.
I remember having a conversation with a friend of mine who's a little bit older than me, and they were complaining because they're like, honestly, the last time I was really interested in gaming is like, I think I was playing Baldur's Gate 2. And I was like, oh, no problem. Here you go. Here's Baldur's Gate 3. It just came out this year.
See, in 6
their
months.
mind like blew. Yeah, like, wait, what? It's like, yeah, no. This is the year. This is the year. No matter who you are as a gamer, this is your year.
And again, too, like it does speak to how incredible, despite what people may say about, its business model or whatever else, but like Game Pass and even PlayStation Extra has been a godsend because it's now opened the door to people to be able to play even more. Because normally, like, I mean, I just went to GameStop the other day and it drove me nuts to look at both Horizon Forbidden West, which is now 6 months old, and Pokemon Let's Go Eevee, which is 4 years old.
That's a Nintendo problem.
And they're still like more than $50 to buy used. And it's like, that's frustrating to me because at this point, like maybe Horizon I can deal with, but like I can't. Or sorry, Horizon not 6 months old. Horizon's a year and change. I keep
it's like
forgetting.
Year and 18. It's like
I keep thinking about the DLC is where my brain's going with that. But But like both games have been around for quite a while and they're not cheap. Like granted, Forbidden West was put on extra, but like just to go buy it physically, it's still like a lot of money. Especially in these days where, we're still crying for, wages to get raised and housing costs to go down and all these other things that are taking our money from us anyway. So when you have something like Extra and Game Pass, which are much more affordable prices, sure, you got to do it every month, but like if you buy 3 or 4 full price games, you've basically bought Game Pass for the entire year. So what's the difference? And you now have all these games that you either were planning on playing at some point or you never would have tried, but because you got maybe a lull period. I mean, the amount of games that I've played this year alone that I never would have tried. Like as much as I love JRPGs, there's no goddamn way I would have touched Chained Echoes, maybe even Sea of Stars, even with the sort of hype that was around it. I don't think I would have tried them, like, if anything, until they were way cheaper, like sub $20 cheaper. So it's made this year also just that much more insanely busy because it's now easy just to drop into a game because you're not having to suddenly fork over another $40+ just to get a crack at it. Now you can just go, you know what, this looks kind of interesting. Let me just try this for a few minutes and see what I think about it. And if you don't like it, you move on to the next thing. And if not, well, here's another great game that you end up liking that ends up falling on one of your favorite games of the year. And that's been like several, like my game of the year this year might be just one of those things that I never would have tried had I not been able to get it for basically nothing.
Yeah, they are. My only gripe with Game Pass is it hurts my backlog. That's literally my only issue with it. That's it.
It's a great problem to have, honestly.
It really is a great problem. I complain a lot, but it's like I'm overwhelmed by how many fun things I have.
And it also gives you time to like really assess like, okay, is this game actually something that I really need to play? And then eventually you start being like, you know what? I'm okay if this is one I miss. Like it eventually gets to a point where there are just some things like,
gotta let some stuff go.
It's not going to be Cyberpunk. Don't. It's okay, Kayla. But there are some games that I'm like, I haven't bothered playing you for like a couple of years now. Is it really that important to me now?
Yeah. Well, it's also like the hype starts to fade on games, and it's like, oh, well, maybe it wasn't as like beloved as people thought it was, and maybe I don't need to play it, kind of thing.
Also, it's really made me understand that not every game needs to be 40 hours anymore, because that used to be what I grew up with in like high school and college. Because, well, when you can't spend that much money, you want games that take forever to finish, so that way you're getting your money's worth. Now it's like, with Game Pass, I'm okay with games being 2 to 4 hours because that's that I can finish that in a day, and that ends up being a really cool experience. Like again,
I love those games.
Is Venba like a great game? No, but it takes 2 hours to beat, and it's a nice little story. I'm cool with that. I finished that literally with my girlfriend next to me the entire time, so like we just had a nice little time just doing that instead of, her watching me play Final Fantasy VII Remake over the course of like 3 weeks and not knowing really where I'm at anymore because she's only been there for like 2% of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Games are too big and need to be smaller now. That's what I want.
But yeah, I mean,
You know what?
Oh, sorry, go ahead, Kaylan.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, did anybody have any last thoughts on like what's coming down the pipeline for the rest of the year here?
Nope.
I need to book off October. That's what I've learned.
You already lost 2 weeks because you lost 2 weeks of Starfield. You need to book off October and at least 2 weeks of November.
I don't. Oh my god, it's just so much. I've kept up the whole year, like everything that was like new that I really wanted to play, like the DLC for Horizon and Hogwarts Legacy, Jedi Survivor. I was on top of everything. I finished Tears of the Kingdom and still had time to go to something else.
And then August happened.
And then August. What the heck? What the hell? This is a lot.
And you're trying to take on new things. Like you finally got around to trying out Trails. So good luck to you, sir.
Oh yeah, that's just sitting there. I don't even know. There's like a big Steam Deck update where they've changed a lot of stuff, and it's a big install with a lot of cool features. I haven't even been able to open it. Oh god, I don't know. It's gonna be an interesting next couple of months. I'll tell you that.
Ladies and gentlemen, that has been this week's episode of the PixelPlay Podcast. If you like that and you want to find more, you can find us wherever you get your podcast by searching for PixelPlay Podcast. Or you can find us on YouTube and Spotify if you want to see our lovely faces. If you are there, I have a favor. Could you please hit the like and subscribe? It means a lot to us. It's how we value ourselves as people, how many subscribers we have. So it really helps us a lot and helps our self-esteem. And with that, yeah, if you want to be part of the show, you can always send questions. You can be part of the Discord. You can find all of our social information at linktr.ee/PixelPlay Podcast, where we post episodes every week, Wednesdays at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. With that being said, I've been your host, Kaylan, aka Catastrophe, joined as always by my co-host Adam at CS Radical and Chris at Jin and Chris. With that, it's been a pleasure, and we'll see you guys next week. Bye for now.